She told you she loved you, and you believed it. Not because the words were convincing, because her timing was surgical. She said it the exact moment you were about to leave, the exact moment your doubt had teeth, the exact moment the door was halfway open and your self-respect was walking through it. That wasn't love. That was a leash disguised as a confession. And you felt it tighten around your throat and called it butterflies. What I'm about to show you are the behavioral signatures of women who don't love you. They harvest you. 6 patterns drawn from clinical psychology, forensic profiling, and the case studies of people who specialize in identifying covert predators. These aren't red flags. Red flags are obvious. These are the trapdoors hidden under beautiful carpet. And the 5th pattern is the one that ruins the most men because it feels exactly like devotion until the day it devours you. Pattern 1. The pity funnel. Martha Stout spent 25 years at Harvard studying sociopaths. Not the movie kind, not the ones with dead eyes and criminal records, the ones who sit across from you at dinner and make you feel like the most important person alive. Her single most important finding? The primary weapon of a sociopath is not charm, it is pity. She documented it across hundreds of case studies. The covert predator does not seduce through strength. She seduces through suffering. She constructs a narrative where she is always the wounded party, always the survivor of someone else's cruelty, always the fragile creature who just needs someone strong enough to hold her together. And your protective instinct, that ancient wiring that makes you want to shield and save, activates like a tripwire. This is not compassion. This is a funnel, and you are being poured into it. Here's how you identify the difference between genuine vulnerability and the pity funnel. A woman with real pain shares it reluctantly. She hesitates. There's shame in her voice. She gives you fragments and then pulls back, unsure if she's said too much. She doesn't want you to see her as broken. The woman running the pity funnel shares it strategically. The story arrives fully formed, polished. The emotional beats land perfectly. Her eyes well up at the precise moment that maximizes impact. And there's a strange absence underneath the performance. An emptiness where genuine distress should live. Her tragedy has been rehearsed in front of too many mirrors. In 1910, a woman named Belle Gunness owned a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. She was a Norwegian immigrant, heavy-set, plain-faced. Not the kind of woman who turned heads, but she had an extraordinary ability to attract men through letters, written with such devastating vulnerability that men across the country sold their farms, liquidated their savings, and traveled hundreds of miles to be with her. Each letter described her loneliness, her suffering, the cruelty of the world, how she needed a strong man to help her with the farm, to protect her, to finally give her the love she deserved. Over a dozen men answered those letters. They arrived with their life savings. None of them were ever seen again. When investigators finally dug up her property, they found the dismembered remains of more than 40 people buried across the grounds. Belle Gunness didn't use beauty, didn't use charm, she used pity. Every single victim walked willingly into her world because she made them feel needed, essential, heroic. Now, I'm not comparing your girlfriend to a serial killer, but I'm telling you that the mechanism is identical. The pity funnel works because it hijacks your sense of purpose. You stop evaluating her behavior because you're too busy playing rescuer. And the moment you try to leave, the suffering intensifies. New crises appear, new traumas surface, the tears arrive on schedule. You're not in a relationship. You're in an emergency room that never closes, and she is both the patient and the architect of every injury. If every woman in her past has hurt her, if every friend has betrayed her, if every employer has wronged her, the common denominator is not the world. It is her. And the story she is telling you is the same story she told the last man, and the one before him. Pattern 2. The mirror collapse. Dr. Robert Hare spent decades building the psychopathy checklist, the clinical gold standard for identifying psychopathic traits. One of his most overlooked findings involves what he called parasitic identity. The individual does not possess a stable sense of self. Instead, they construct an identity by absorbing yours. In the beginning, she becomes your perfect match. She likes what you like, laughs at what you find funny, shares your obscure taste in music, your political opinions, your philosophy. She seems to understand you at a molecular level. You have never felt so seen. This isn't connection. This is camouflage. Jackson Mackenzie documented this pattern extensively in survivors of psychopathic relationships. He called the first phase the idealization. During this phase, the predator studies you, not casually, forensically. She maps your desires, your insecurities, your childhood wounds. Then she becomes the answer to every question you didn't know you were asking. The mirror collapse happens when she can no longer maintain the performance. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in stages so subtle you dismiss each one as a bad day, stress, hormones, anything but the truth. The woman who shared every interest slowly reveals that she never actually cared about any of them. The woman who found your ambition attractive now resents the time it takes. The woman who admired your independence now calls it emotional unavailability. And here is where it gets sinister. As her mask dissolves, yours is being constructed. She begins defining you, not who you are, but who she needs you to be. Your confidence becomes arrogance. Your boundaries become selfishness. Your friendships become threats. Slowly, methodically, your identity is being digested and replaced with a version of you that serves her. In 16th century England, there was a woman named Bess of Hardwick. Born into minor gentry, she married 4 times, each husband wealthier and more powerful than the last. With each marriage, she adopted the perfect persona for that particular man. For the young merchant, she was the dutiful, modest wife. For the aging aristocrat, she was the devoted nurse. For the politician, she became the cunning strategist. Each man believed he had found his soulmate, but Bess wasn't becoming anyone. She was absorbing everyone. Each husband's wealth, status, and connections were extracted with the precision of a surgeon. By the time the mask dropped, by the time each man realized the woman he married did not exist, she had already secured everything she needed. She died the second wealthiest woman in Elizabethan England, behind only the Queen. 4 husbands, 4 perfect mirrors, 4 men who fell in love with their own reflection. If the woman you're with seemed impossibly aligned with you in the first 3 months, if the compatibility felt too precise, too effortless, you were not being loved. You were being studied. Pattern 3, the loyalty inversion. This one operates in plain sight, which is exactly why it destroys so many men. She demands absolute loyalty, transparency with your phone, explanations for your whereabouts, justifications for every female name in your contacts, and you provide it, because you think this is what committed men do. But watch the inversion. While she audits your life like a forensic accountant, her own remains sealed. Her phone is angled away. Her social media has layers you've never seen. Her girls' nights happen with increasing frequency and decreasing detail. This asymmetry is not insecurity. It is territory. Dr. George Simon wrote extensively about what he called covert aggression. The covertly aggressive personality does not attack you directly. She attacks you through the implication that your resistance is evidence of guilt. If you have nothing to hide, why won't you show me? Meanwhile, her own secrecy is framed as independence, privacy, self-respect. The same behavior she criminalizes in you, she sanctifies in herself. The loyalty inversion works because it keeps you perpetually defending yourself. You're so busy proving your innocence that you never think to question hers. You're so consumed with passing her tests that you don't notice she never takes any. In the court of Louis XV, Madame de Pompadour maintained her position as the king's official mistress for nearly 20 years, a feat no other woman accomplished. Historians credit her beauty, her wit, her political acumen. What they underemphasize is her surveillance architecture. She maintained a network of informants throughout Versailles who reported the king's every conversation, every glance at another woman. She interrogated his schedule, vetted his companions, and controlled his access to potential rivals. Yet her own activities remained opaque. She hosted salons, entertained artists, philosophers, foreign dignitaries. She had private chambers no one, including the king, could enter without invitation. When he questioned this, she would smile and say, "A woman must have her mysteries, Your Majesty." His transparency was demanded. Hers was a luxury. The moment a woman requires total access to your life while maintaining firewalls around her own, you are not in a partnership. You are in a cage with a one-way mirror. She sees everything. You see what she allows. Pattern 4, the Scorched History. Pay attention to how she narrates her past, not the events, the casting. In every story she tells, notice the roles. Who is the villain? Who is the victim? If in every chapter of her life she is the innocent party, and everyone else, every ex, every friend, every family member, is the monster, you're listening to a screenplay, not a biography. Lundy Bancroft spent years working with abusive personalities. His most counterintuitive finding was this: the person who tells you they are always the victim is frequently the one creating victims. The reason is structural. A healthy person looks at a failed relationship and sees complexity, fault on both sides, their own mistakes alongside the other person's. This is emotional maturity, the capacity to hold contradiction. The Scorched History personality cannot hold contradiction. She has burned every bridge and rewritten the fire as arson committed by others. Every ex was abusive. Every friend was toxic. Every boss was a narcissist. The word narcissist itself has become her favorite weapon, a clinical-sounding label she attaches to anyone who failed to comply with her demands. And here's the trap. When she tells you about these monsters, you feel chosen. You feel like the exception. Finally, the good man who will treat her right. You don't realize that you're simply the next chapter. And when this chapter ends, when you inevitably fail to meet her impossible standards, you too will become the villain in a story she tells the next man. Your name will be added to the roster of narcissists and abusers. Your side will never be told. During the French Revolution, there was a woman named Théroigne de Méricourt who became a symbol of radical justice. She publicly accused aristocrats, former allies, even close friends of betraying the revolution. Her speeches were compelling. Her passion seemed righteous. One by one, the people she named were arrested. Some were executed. But a pattern emerged. Every person Terwine accused had one thing in common. They had recently disagreed with her. The accusations weren't about justice. They were about control. Disagreement was reframed as treason. Personal conflict became political crime. Eventually, the revolution turned on her too. She was publicly beaten by a mob of women who recognized the pattern before the men did. She spent the rest of her life in an asylum. The Scorched History always catches fire eventually. But by the time it does, you are already a casualty. If she cannot name a single thing she did wrong in any past relationship, run. Not because perfection is suspicious, because the inability to self-implicate is the signature of someone who will destroy you and sleep soundly. Pattern 5. The debt architecture. This is the one that ruins good men, because it wears the costume of love. She does things for you, unsolicited, extravagant. She shows up at your apartment with groceries when you didn't ask. She plans your birthday weeks in advance. She writes letters. She takes care of you when you're sick with a devotion that feels almost theatrical. And you think, this is what love looks like. Until you try to make a decision she disagrees with. Until you want to spend a weekend with your friends. Until you say no to something. Then the ledger appears. After everything I've done for you, I rearranged my whole life for you. Do you know what I sacrificed? Every act of generosity was an invoice. Every kind gesture was a deposit into an account you didn't know existed. And now the balance is due, and it will always be due, because the debt was designed to be unpayable. Paul Mason and Randy Krager documented this pattern in their clinical work, and they described a personality type that gives compulsively, not from love, but from the need to create obligation. The giving is not generosity, it is infrastructure. It builds a cage of gratitude so complete that leaving feels like theft. The man inside this architecture cannot leave without feeling monstrous. She gave me everything. She was so good to me. How can I abandon someone who loved me that much? He doesn't see the trap because the bars are made of favors. The lock is made of guilt. In feudal Japan, there was a practice among certain daimyo lords called on, the strategic distribution of gifts and favors to subordinates. The gifts were never free. Each one created a social debt that could be called upon at will. A samurai who received too many favors from his lord became, in effect, a prisoner of gratitude. He could not refuse any order, no matter how extreme, because the weight of received generosity made refusal feel like betrayal. The lords who mastered on didn't need chains, they needed kindness. Calibrated, strategic, suffocating kindness. If her generosity has conditions, if her love arrives with receipts, you are not being cherished, you are being purchased. And the price is your autonomy. Pattern 6. The reality warp. This is the most psychologically violent of all 6 patterns, and it leaves no bruises. You had an argument last Tuesday. You know what was said. You remember the words, the tone, the sequence. You're certain. She tells you it didn't happen that way. Not with hostility, with concern, with the soft, worried voice of someone who cares about your well-being. Baby, that's not what I said. Are you okay? You've been so stressed lately. I think you're remembering things wrong. The first time, you dismiss it. Everyone misremembers occasionally. The second time, you question yourself. By the 10th time, you don't trust your own mind. Joe Navarro, a former FBI counterintelligence agent who spent decades profiling dangerous personalities, identified this as the single most destructive weapon in the covert manipulator's arsenal. He called it reality distortion. The target's confidence in their own perception is systematically dismantled until they become dependent on the manipulator's version of events. This is not gaslighting in the way pop psychology uses the term casually to describe any disagreement. This is the clinical version, deliberate, sustained, architectural. Each instance builds on the last. Each doubt compounds. The victim doesn't suddenly wake up confused. They are eroded, grain by grain, until they cannot tell the difference between what happened and what they were told happened. In the 1940s, a Soviet intelligence operation known as Operatsiya Razloženie, Operation Decomposition, was used to neutralize dissidents without arrest or execution. Agents would enter the target's home while they were away and move objects, just slightly. A book shifted 2 inches, a picture frame angled differently. Keys moved from one pocket of a jacket to another. Nothing overtly threatening, nothing provable, but the cumulative effect was devastating. The targets began doubting their own sanity. They became paranoid, erratic, unreliable. Their friends and family distanced themselves. The dissident was neutralized, not by force, but by the systematic corruption of their relationship with reality. When a woman does this to you, when your memory becomes unreliable only in conversations about her behavior, you're not losing your mind. You are losing it to her. She is not confused about what happened. She knows exactly what happened. She needs you not to. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your own experience, if arguments always end with you apologizing for things you're not sure you did, if your sense of reality has become foggy only since she entered your life, that fog has an author. And she is standing right next to you, looking concerned. 6 patterns, 6 trapdoors, each one invisible until you know where to look. The pity funnel traps you in a rescue mission that never ends. The mirror collapse makes you fall in love with a woman who doesn't exist. The loyalty inversion chains you while she roams free. The Scorched History guarantees you will become the next villain. The debt architecture buys your obedience with kindness. The reality. Warp steals the one thing you cannot function without, your trust in your own mind. These are not personality quirks. These are not red flags you can work through. These are the operating patterns of someone who will consume you from the inside and leave you wondering how you became a stranger in your own life. The cruelest part? The men who stay the longest are not the weak ones. They're the loyal ones, the ones who believe in second chances, the ones whose integrity makes them stay when a lesser man would leave. Your loyalty is a resource, and some women mine it until there's nothing left. But here's what none of the psychology textbooks will tell you. Recognizing these patterns is not the hard part. The hard part is what comes after recognition. Because the moment you see the architecture clearly, the moment the fog lifts and the machinery is exposed, you have to choose. And choosing to leave someone who has woven themselves into every corner of your identity requires a kind of violence. Not against her. Against the version of yourself she built. The version that needs her. The version that believes leaving is cruelty and staying is love. That version is not you. It was installed. And dismantling it is the most important thing you will ever do. If this cracked something open in you, if you felt the recognition hit somewhere deeper than curiosity, this channel is where that recognition becomes architecture. Subscribe, because the next video goes even darker, and you're going to need what it teaches.